Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you. Mastering project management becomes very interesting when we connect it with real life case studies. With that intent, when I searched the internet, I came across a couple of case studies. One was connected with information technology projects, and the other one was connected with an EPC project. And this is the one which can be connected or considered as a engineering, procurement, and construction intensive project, which is nothing but the Western Route Modernization project in the UK. The project name is the Great Western Route Modernization Project, and here is the map of it. This involves modernization of the railway tracks, the signaling systems, and the stations associated. The project got initiated in the year 2013, and the original completion date was 2017. And the actual completion, it is still not completed. So when I'm recording this on 9th of December 2021. So this project is still not completed. The original budget was 874 million euros, and the actual is 5.5 billion. The benefit cost ratio, the forecasted benefit cost ratio was 2.4:1. That means for every euro invested or every pound invested is supposed to get a return of 2.4. And the benefit cost ratio projected is only 1.6. That means for every euro or pound invested, you will get only 1.6. So that is a great depreciation of the benefit cost ratio when the project progressed. Now what I've done is, I've mapped the risk occurred in the project across the process groups of initiation, planning, execution, monitoring and controlling, and closing. Now, the first risk is the business case was finalized during execution phase. One of the biggest known risks of the projects are if you start a project which doesn't have a solid business case, it is doomed to fail, and that will get revealed during the execution time. That is a big issue. With the proper initiation of this project, with the proper project chartering, and if they had prepared a project charter during the initiation phase itself, this lack of business case they could have unearthed during the initiation phase itself. So that is a value of professional project management. Unfortunately, in this project, that was not done, and the quite surprising fact is that most of the risks were unavoidable just by following the professional project management best practices. So this risk we could have definitely unearthed during the initiation phase with the preparation of a project charter and the approval of the project charter. This could have been avoided. Then uh, these are a set of risks which could have been avoided with proper planning. The first risk is there was no integrated approach. They switched to program management after 2 years. This is a this is a big project. This cannot be handled as a single project because multiple disciplines are involved. The station works are there, the signaling systems are there, the electrical work is there. So multiple agencies are operating on this. So this could have been, if it was managed as a program, uh, that would have been better. But unfortunately, they planned it as a program midway through the project. They could have always done it at the beginning of the project itself. So that is where the classical definition and the execution of program management comes into play. So a program is a collection of interrelated projects which when done together gives you more value than doing them one after the other. So this was a clear case for program management. Unfortunately, they did not do it at the beginning of the project itself. And when they started the project, the scope and the costs were highly uncertain. Maybe with the help of a proper work breakdown structure and stuff like that, this could have been eliminated to a great extent. And they had very early borrowing arrangements which reduced the incentives for schedule and budget control. So this gave an illusion of surplus funds because they had proactively they had arranged for borrowing. And cost escalation was not included in the budget. So that was a big issue. With proper budgeting practices, they could have included the contingency reserve and the management reserves, which would have taken care of these things to a great extent. So with the best practices of project planning, uh, most of this risk they could have avoided. Unfortunately, nobody thought through or nobody adhered to the professional project management best practices. Then, during execution time, these are some of the risks which could have been avoided with the adoption of the project management best practices during the execution phase of the project. No bottom-up understanding of the work involved. So, yeah, they knew that a lot of things need to be done, but there was no hierarchical relationships established uh, across work packages. So with the proper work breakdown structure and by the adoption of the emerging trends like the advanced work packaging and stuff like that, these things could have been literally eliminated. And no critical path was followed during execution. Uh, this is unbelievable. So if any project should have a project schedule, and the project manager's job is primarily to track the project using the critical path, and a project of this magnitude, nobody took pains to look at the critical path. The challenge here was, okay, now unless you do the WBS, unless you define the scope clearly, uh, uh, yeah, you cannot do the scheduling properly. So this was a compounded risk which literally impacted the project negatively. The technology risks were not managed. Again, with proper risk management, the risk planning, the risk management planning, these things could have been avoided to a great extent. Then did not conduct detailed surveys of locations. This is something that should have happened at the beginning of the project itself. Uh, Again, with proper planning, this could have been avoided, and with the adherence to the proper plan during execution time, this could have been avoided. But then I'm quite surprised because this is a recurring risk that is happening within in the EPC projects. Because before I was talking to somebody from an airport project, they also had the same challenge because before planning, nobody took the site inspection very seriously. They just did it as a formality. And when they really started executing the project, they realized that the soil conditions were totally different from what they anticipated, and that resulted in huge delays in the project because of the change in soil conditions, which could have been detected when they planned or during the site inspections and the early surveys. Then monitoring and controlling. These are some of the risks that occurred in this project, which could have been avoided with proper monitoring and controlling best practices. No centralized approach. So nobody had, there was no integrated project management approach. Each project manager, they were concerned only with their piece of the project, and nobody had the overall view or the integrated view of the project. And weak program management information has undermined the program board's effectiveness. This is again a secondary risk, because the primary risk was this was not conceived as a program during the initiation stage itself. Halfway through only they switched to program management, and the project management information systems were not planned and implemented to take care of the needs of the program management. So this is a secondary risk. Then cost and schedule monitoring was not based on earned value management based, because we were talking about no proper tracking of the critical path itself, and without that it becomes difficult to implement earned value management, which would have helped them to monitor and control the schedule as well as the cost, and that would have given them even the power or the ability to forecast things. So in a project of this magnitude, these things are very, very important. And what is surprising to me is, see, none of this risk, or at least 90% of this risk, is very common. Okay, everybody knows. Anybody who has studied professional project management, these things are a given. Nobody can do a project without a critical path. Nobody can do a project of this magnitude without packaging it as a program. Nobody can manage a project of this magnitude unless you have an integrated project management approach. And nobody can make this project successful without tight project controls based on earned value management and forecasting techniques. Unfortunately, these things were not incorporated into the project from the early phases itself. Now, with this as the context, now we will get into the project management lessons in the future videos. So many people think that, okay, whatever best practices we study, this is all hypothetical or theoretical, which cannot be practiced. But then this is reality. This is a real case study and which tells us, how people literally screw up projects without following any of these best practices. This is not a single project. You can see multiple projects, and to my surprise, these projects are not failing because of unknown risk. These projects are failing because of because they did not manage the known risk properly, and that is where the value of professional project management bodies like the project management body of knowledge and by the Project Management Institute and stuff like that comes in very, very handy. So our project management course will be always, will connect you back to cases like this, so that the whole exercise of mastering project management as per the project management body of knowledge becomes more interesting, and and it becomes highly valuable if you can put or implement the best practices we learn in real life, apart from the credentials and PS certification programs and stuff like that. My request is, at least while learning the best practices, please look at things from a practitioner's perspective. Then you will get better value from our training program. You can, if you scroll down to the description of the video, there is a link to download the course content. This is 7 iterations course which will take you through the entire project management body of knowledge in 7 iterations. So you can scroll down and download the course content, and after going through the course content, if you see value, I request you to enroll for the course so that we will get an opportunity to work with you to explain the project management best practices to you from a practitioner's perspective. Thank you very much.